How y'all doing today? Welcome to another episode of the Stoked podcast. I know y'all used to the intro, but I was too busy talking to my guests, so I'm gonna give you the intro right now. Hello again. Welcome to another episode of the Stoked podcast. I am writer, artist, creator, podcaster, publisher, Javon O. Stokes, aka the most opinionated man in comics. I am here today. Jamari is not here. Just a little bit of info. Jamari's working on some really great things in the background, so he might be in and out. But have no fear, I will be here, and we're powering through to the end of the end of the year. We'll have some more great guests. It's going to be really great. I have big announcements to be made, but I can't make them now. Just know that Visually Stoked Media is about to take significant steps within the comic book industry to honestly be a force. Because that's why I've been doing this, and that's kind of it's why we all do it. We love comic books, and that's what I'm trying to do. A little bit of housekeeping. This weekend, I will be at MICE, Massachusetts Independent Comic Expo in Boston. If you are in the Boston area, come through, say what's up. It is a free event. If I'm not mistaken, it's a free event. So you can just come right in and then buy comics. It's one of the few events that you can just walk in and use your money on the comics and not just on getting in. So come through. It's Saturday and Sunday. I think it's 11 to 6 on Saturday and 11 to 5 on Sunday. Unfortunately, that means I won't be able to watch the Patriots game because I'll be driving back home after. But doesn't really matter. But it's okay. Like I said, we got 20 years. So yes, let's bring in our guest. He's a busy man. I don't want to hold him too long. Our next guest is award-winning Philadelphia-based artist and educator, dedicating his career to help young people realize the power of visual narrative. He promotes anti-bullying, healing, and kindness in his work. He is the creator of Leon the Extraordinary, the first book in the series featuring Leon and his friends Carlos and Clementine. He is a phenomenal artist, phenomenal writer, and an even better person. Let's give a Stoke podcast round of applause to Jamar Nicholas.
Yo, what's up, Javon? How you doing?
What's good, man? It's funny because I've seen you like twice in the last 3 months.
Yeah, we're on the circuit together, bro.
I know, man. Once you get on the circuit, you just start seeing the same people
Yeah,
over and over and over and over again, which is cool though, because you get to talk a little bit. I wish we get more time to talk, but you were super busy last time.
I don't know what to tell
You're
you.
kind of a big deal. I'm just saying. It's
Nah,
okay to say that, It's okay.
nah, it's all good. I appreciate the love, man. It's just I've been out here for a long time, and luckily things are starting to all kind of go in the same direction, and you kind of have to be ready for it.
Hey
Yeah,
man, that's a blessing, man. That's
yeah.
that's a blessing because we are one of my favorite songs is Eminem's "Lose Yourself."
Hmm.
And I love the message behind it. Like, don't get ready, stay ready, because your moment is going to show up. And if you ain't ready,
Yeah.
it'll pass you right by to the next person.
Yeah,
So,
mom
you know,
spaghetti, the whole thing.
dude, let me tell you, I think the first Comic Con I ever did, like I was sitting in the car before I got out.
Yeah.
And I was playing that. I was like, I
You
was
were like
getting amped.
you're
Yeah,
hyping
I
yourself
was like,
up.
this is it, man. I was like, all right, gotta get ready, gotta get
Yeah,
ready.
yeah, you
Yeah,
do.
yeah, yeah. But like I said, for those that don't know, this man is big time right now. He's big time. And I'm looking forward to hear more about his journey. This is why I don't ask you these questions when I see you, because
Mm,
I get you on the show. That's when I start asking.
sure, it's good content.
Yes, yes, yes. That and that's where it's all about now,
Yeah.
unfortunately. So let's start. I usually begin every one of these shows by asking a similar question. And that question is for you: is when did your love of art begin?
When I was super young, I was quickly enamored by the newspapers. So I grew up reading newspaper comic strips. There were some other things that kind of tied into it. It's kind of fuzzy because I'm getting old. Um, I remember really loving Disney animation, and one of the early movies that I saw, I remember my mother took me to the movies to see The Rescuers.
Oh, I love the Rescuers.
And I don't remember much about it, but it was just like a gorgeous film, and I just kind of got caught up in just, the majesty of it.
Yes.
And, again, I was a big devourer of comic strips.
Okay.
And that's really what it was. I mean, my mother was an artist too, and that had a lot to do with it as well. But, me personally, it was all about comic strips and cartoons. And I didn't really fall into comic books later, but we could talk about that. But
Okay.
yeah, that
All
was
right.
like the beginning of my thing. And growing up in Philly, in my neighborhood, I knew a lot of kids that drew, and I always was drawing and making marks and things like that. Then, after a while, like all those other people stopped doing it. You know what I'm saying? And I kind of kept going. So, but yeah, the beginning of that was really early.
Yeah, we have a kinship there. My mom is an artist too, so
Mhm.
I know the following mom's footsteps.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Well,
tell people I've been copying her for years now, and I still ain't catch up with her. But
no, yeah, that's the foundation right there. So important.
what
So,
kind of art did she do?
she was. This is going back. She was a commercial artist, and I guess
Okay,
you would call it a graphic designer now.
right,
You know
right.
what I mean? But she kind of was in the game doing like post ups and mock ups. And I remember she would come home with like advertising projects, and she had giant bins full of press type, like we know about like Zipatone from
Oh
comics,
yeah,
but they
oh yeah.
also make other things back in the day, like letters. It would just be like
Hmm.
whole sheets with different, they didn't call them fonts back then, like letter types that you would like rub onto things, and everything was all hand by hand and crazy mechanical. And she had a really amazing attention to detail. I didn't pick up on the I don't know, the neatness of what she did. I'm kind of organic with mine. You know what I mean? But I got a lot of that from watching her work and kind of deal with clients and all that other kind of stuff that kind of made me probably more of a professional than a lot of people may, kind of get a leg up on.
Okay, all right. Well, what were your so you were into comic strips more than comic books? What were your favorite comic strips?
This is so funny because I think I could read really early. People tell me these stories about from the family. Everybody's got stories from
Hmm.
fam, like, oh, remember we went on vacation and you read the newspaper at the beach? Like, no, but if you said I did that, okay.
Sure. All right.
But yeah, I was a big Doonesbury fan. So
Okay.
I was a big Gary Trudeau fan, just for the way he kind of drew stuff. It looked a lot different than everything else that was on the page. And I had a lot of really early. You remember Walden Books and B.
Yeah.
Dalton
Oh yeah.
and those old bookstores? That
Okay.
was
Yep.
that was before they had a graphic novel section or anything. Anything that wasn't a book was in humor.
Yeah. Yep.
So I had a couple of Doonesbury collections, and I kind of like that. I ripped the covers off of those. I read them so much. So it was Doonesbury. Bloom County came a little later.
I know
Uh,
that one.
I was a big Burke Breathitt fan, and that's a lot. Probably where I get a lot of my loosey goosey stuff from
Hmm.
back when I was younger. And I know a lot of people who were in the strips say Garfield was like their jam, and like I wasn't really rocking with Garfield like that. But yeah, it was that, and maybe a little later. Well, obviously Calvin and Hobbes, but that's later. Calvin and
Right.
Hobbes was later, so it was really Bloom County and Doonesbury. Oh, and Andy Cap.
Okay. Okay.
If you remember Andy
I
Cap.
remember. Yeah. Yeah. I'm a lot older than that. Look.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think the funny thing about Andy Cap is that I think the strip still runs, but it has to be edited because it was like the most non-PC comic strip of all
None of them
time.
were.
Yeah,
None of them.
it was wild. My man would come home drunk from the bar and like fight with his wife and
Yep.
then go sleep on the couch.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. I used to like. what was the name of it?
Hmm.
Prince something? Prince?
Was it Prince? Not Prince Valiant.
Is
Was
it
it Prince
Prince
Valiant?
Valiant?
The
Yeah,
legacy strip. Yeah.
yeah, like
Hmm.
it was so detailed. And I was
Yeah.
like, how the hell are they doing this small?
I
Because
know,
I
right?
didn't know no better back then.
Right. How they
I
draw
was
so
just like,
small,
yeah, like
right?
how you get on that detailing like that.
Yeah.
That informed me more. Like I was always I was Garfield.
Yeah.
Uh, what was the other one? The dog, the big dog.
Marmaduke.
Marmaduke. Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Big
Hmm.
Marmaduke fan. Big Marmaduke fan.
Hmm.
So you're into comic strips. Your mom is an artist.
Hmm.
At what point did you realize, like, either you wanted to draw, that you could draw?
There was a really kind of pivotal moment with me where I may have been in like third grade or something, and there was a contest downtown at the Hershey Hotel. We used to have Hershey hotels. That brand is all gone now. For like a sidewalk chalk contest, and I bugged my mother like all week to for us to go to this thing. I didn't really have a plan, but I was just going to go there and just
Just
I was
show
just
up.
going to show, going to show up, right? And I think probably like I think it was on a Saturday, and by Friday I was doing like sketches and doing these like designs. And by then I had a couple little characters that I would kind of draw over and over again and put in little situations. So we went downtown, and basically there was just somebody standing there with a bucket of chalk, and they said, "You find a find a
Find
square
a spot.
sidewalk, yeah, find a spot." And I just sat there and I just drew this cartoon, and I won.
Okay.
So this contest, I think it was for like how many ever passes a Hershey part that you wanted. And I kind of got addicted to that. That was really cool, and then kind of being, I guess, acknowledged for something you drew out of thin air. All those little things really kind of like connected with me. And then maybe a little later it was drawing my friends, and making cartoons of my friends are getting a reaction out of it.
Okay.
So, those little pieces were really, really interesting to me, that you could control people's moods with things that you drew. And that was the beginning of it for me.
Yeah, it's always interesting, like what prompts people to continue on the path of like art,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's usually like you know, when you get encouragement.
Mhm.
Like if you could draw even a little bit, oh man, he could draw, and then it's like
Right.
I could draw, and
Right.
it's always funny to see the people who keep at it and the
Mhm.
people who it just falls away.
Mhm.
One of my friends, he always says like art, you have to like be obsessed with art
Yeah.
a little bit,
Yeah.
because if you're not, then it's just something you can kind of do,
Right.
and then you know what I mean. and
Mhm.
and so it's really interesting to see like your motivation. You got the encouragement through the
Mhm.
win,
Right.
and then that seemed to push you towards the continuing to get better.
Yeah.
What kind of did you do any training, like did you do any classes, any of that, as you were growing up?
Yeah, so I mean, something that probably really helped push me into a really positive direction was like my mother was encouraging, but also she wasn't a cheerleader because she was already a pro. So rather than, I call them refrigerator parents now, like, when people take their kids' work and they just like stick it on the fridge and they didn't really look at it. They're like,
Right, right.
that's nice, honey. We'll put the My mother was more critical. A lot of her stuff was like, that's good, but why do you draw the feet so big? Or how come
Yep.
all your characters have their hands behind your backs? You don't know how to draw hands, do you? And I'm just like, she was calling me out. Or your work is dirty, not like, content wise, but like, there was like thumbprints, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the corners were wrinkled. She's like, you got to keep your work clean, and you got to do this and that. So I was kind of getting this really early boot camp into what it took to be a professional. And she signed me up for some after school classes back in the late 70s, early 80s. There wasn't a lot of that. There really wasn't a lot, and I never took a cartooning class because that didn't
Hmm.
exist. It was more like there's an after school, hippy dippy art, foundry that you can go and learn how to screen print. I'll do anything. So just being in a space where you're being encouraged to create, I thought was really helpful to me. And then later on, I wound up taking a lot of art in school, and I went to this really famous school here in Philly, Creative and Performing Arts High School. And I'm from that same era where like all of the superstar people came out of there. So one of my funny little side parts of my bio is I was in school with Boys to Men and the Roots and all of those cats.
Jamar, can you pause for just 1 second? I have to open the door for my son.
Yeah,
Hold on one
yeah,
second.
go get them. I can rock the crowd if you want. And thanks everybody for having me. I appreciate it.
Dead air is not good. Dead air is not good.
No, I did a little dance. You're good.
So you went to school with Boys to Men.
They went
That's
to
the
school
last
with
thing.
they went to school with
They
me.
went to school with you. Now, did you like know them, or
Yeah,
were they just
I
like
know
the
all
dudes
those.
that was around?
No, we were all like young kids with bad haircuts, all there at the same time. There was a point. I think there were five of them at one
Right. Yeah.
point. Yeah, there was five of them, and then Mark fell off, and there was a lot of stuff that happened. And right when we started getting towards the end of being in school, things were happening. And what was really another part of my origin story is being in that space where the whole school was full of creatives. We're still kids, right?
Right.
I went there for visual art, and even like Black Thought was a visual art major. You know what I
I
mean?
didn't know that.
Yeah, Tariq was a visual arts major. Sat behind him in a couple classes, and we were cool. But one of the interesting things was there were kids from all these different disciplines that kind of came from all across the city to kind of do the same thing. And the teachers were like, these legendary teachers, and it wasn't uh, a thing for people to say, oh, you know what, I can't come to school on Friday because I got to go to New York because Mr. Cosby asked me to be an extra on the show. You know what I mean? People were working.
Wow.
Or you see the girls doing dance routines on like the local ABC channel. They're what I mean. Everybody was
Right.
in
Right.
the mix,
That's awesome.
and it didn't seem like it was unreal. People were already working, so I guess I got a little fearless from being in that environment. I'm just like, well, this is what I'm doing. I just got to keep doing it. It wasn't a dream.
What's glad I'm glad that like you weren't like daunted by it, because that I
Mhm,
could see how for some people that could be like,
mhm.
I ain't on this level, so maybe I shouldn't have been doing it.
Well,
So
the interesting thing, and this shocks people when I talk about school. A lot of people are interested in this. Is that even my whole way through high school and even into college, I wanted to be a cartoonist. That's all I ever wanted to do, and I didn't get a lot of love from the faculty even back then because they
wow.
weren't feeling cartoons.
Yeah.
And like I hear people who are teachers like, "What's up with the anime?" Like, it hasn't really changed. You know what I'm saying? Like, just to be honest. So
Really, I get the opposite.
well, you know what? Things are changing. I don't want to say it's all doom and gloom, but I definitely came out at a point where they weren't celebrating it.
Yeah. I remember that era
Hmm.
because like you, I always wanted to do comic books.
Yeah.
Like always. That
Hmm.
like if, for anybody that knows me, I wanted to do comics. And it
Yeah.
was almost like, are you sure? Like,
Right.
like,
Right.
don't you want to make some money? Like,
Right. Can we steer you from living
right.
living out of a box? Right. Yeah. So, so
Now,
they go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, no, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So, I mean, that was, a giant thing for me was even though I'm in this environment where all these like high level people are doing really high level things, I was still kind of a black sheep. You know what I mean? So, in school to a point, I was like, oh, he's the cartoon kid. And
Hey,
even in a school full of artists and
I'm
dancers
still
and
a
singers
cartoon
and
kid.
stuff,
Nah,
so
I got that. It's amazing. You and I have mirrored so many experiences. It's crazy. Before I go on, do you still like? Have you seen them? Any
Yeah.
of the folks from that you went to school with?
Well, no, not really, because I mean, mainly I'm still in Philly, and all those cats hardly live around
Well, I
here.
mean, like, have you like run into them at any
Yeah,
point
yeah,
after they've blown up?
yeah. I mean, I have a lot of early stories about running into Tariq and Amir, like before everything really started popping off for them with the Roots, when they were still the Square Roots, and they were busking on South Street, and somebody hand me a flyer to go check something out or whatever, you know what I mean? And we're all still really friendly. I'm friends with a bunch of people on Facebook or whatever, but it's just people are working, and
Yeah.
they just happen to have famous jobs.
Well,
What I'm
I'm
saying?
always curious because
Yeah.
you always hear about, oh, I went, when the famous people who,
Hmm.
when people you go to college with or college or high school become famous,
Yeah.
like I'm always interested to see like how many of the people they still keep in contact with, and
Yeah.
rarely it's
Yeah.
it's rarely like
Yeah.
anyone.
Yeah. It is kind of rare. And I think one of the things in my case, which may be like a lot of people may have gone to a school where there was a famous guy that went there at one point, but they never knew him. Like, oh,
Right.
I don't know, Bradley Cooper went here or something like that. Like, or you're living off of the vapor trail of somebody else's time there. But we were all there at the same time.
Right.
So, you know, um,
I don't think nobody famous went to my damn. I'm trying to tell you. I'm sitting here trying to think. You got no famous people. I'm probably the most famous person
you're
there.
the famous one. Well,
I'm
hey,
probably the most famous. No, I'm just playing. I'm just
well,
playing everybody. I want nobody coming for me on social media.
well, this, it's got to start somewhere, right? You got to be the first.
Hey, listen, man, I'm trying to do something.
That's right.
So did you end up going? Where'd you go to college? If did you go to college, and if you did, where? I should
Yeah, I
say.
went to the University of the Arts here in Philly.
Okay. So
I
you just weren't leaving Philly. You're just like, nah.
That's Philly cats are like that. It's really tough to kind of shake them loose
I know.
from the city.
One of my best friends is from Philly.
I have not said a lie yet. You know what I
And
mean? It's
he
real.
he never let it go.
Yeah.
He lived in Hartford, Connecticut for
Mhm.
years.
Mhm.
He's like, no, I'm from Philly.
No, for Philly, you know
I'm
what I
from
mean.
Philly. It's John and all that other stuff.
It's
Brody. I knew
it's
all those words. I was just like, what the heck is a John?
yo, you do it.
Brody. What do you mean, Brody?
It is so funny that John's been around forever. Like, we said that when I was in grade school, like in the 80s. So that's not super new. But yeah, I think it's just something about the external idea is that people think that Philly is living in the shadow of New York, but we don't care what New York's doing. You know what I'm saying? So
That is true. That is true.
we just do our
Y'all your own thing,
we
man.
do our own thing, and you'll hear about it also.
But everybody I know from Philly, and I know quite a few people from Philly, they all it's like, again, I'm from Hartford. We're really close. We're like 2 hours away from
Mhm,
New York.
mhm.
Sometimes there's a crossover. There's like like
Yeah,
a lot of you'll meet people who from Hartford who act like they're from New York. And you
right.
got or not Hartford, from Connecticut.
Yeah,
And they act like you're from New York and be like, hey man, calm down, you're from Connecticut. Like, this is a layup. But I never get that feeling. Like it's definitely like a different culture
yeah,
than New York.
yeah, yeah.
Which I used to get annoyed with Philly only because of my friend. I ain't gonna lie to you.
It's all
I
right.
ain't gonna lie to you. I used to be like, dog, if you say you from Philly one more time, like you've been living in Connecticut for like 15 years now, man. You gotta let that go.
Well, you heard the other slogan that came out when the Eagles beat
Oh
your
boy.
boys. No one likes us. We don't care.
Listen.
Which, it's
I was
true.
trying to make it through this interview
We can stay.
without being mad about
We can
that.
stay away from
But we
football.
beat y'all first, so
Well, fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. But I
so,
mean,
but yeah,
oh, it's also I was just in Hartford.
really.
Yeah, I just came back from Portland.
Oh, you should have let me know, man.
I didn't know you were in Hartford. I,
What were
I
you in Hartford for?
I came out of Bradley to go to Portland. Yeah, and I was jumping around in New England a little bit. I went to the Big E.
When?
Uh,
When?
Was a couple days ago. I didn't know you were out there.
I wasn't there, but I'm that's where well, from now, that's
Now I
where I'm
know.
at. That's
Now
where
I know.
I didn't know that would have been cool,
Yeah,
man.
I'll hit you up.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's where I'm literally from Bradley Airport. I'm 2 exits away, like 2, 3 exits.
See, man, we should have done this a week ago. It would have been all good.
I honestly, what was I doing? This past weekend, no, this past week I wasn't really doing anything.
Oh, okay. You didn't
I was
have
thinking
any.
about last week. Last week I was at New Hampshire.
You didn't have any shows or anything.
No, this was a rare week off.
Yeah, yeah. We can
Rare
talk
week.
about that. Just traveling. Yeah.
Listen, man, this is the first year. Most of our viewers know this is the first year where I went ham.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I see guys like you,
Mm-hmm.
Lonzo, Greg Elise, and y'all be event after event
Yeah.
after event.
Yeah. Yeah.
Y'all keep it moving.
Yeah.
And I watched what it did for you guys' careers.
Yeah.
And so, last year I just made the decision. I said I'm going to do as many as I can, as absolute many as I can.
Yeah.
And frankly, it's like paid dividends.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to do it again next year.
You have to.
I'm absolutely like,
I mean, you don't have to, but you.
Well,
You
no,
should.
like
Right.
it's one of those things that when you get into the comic book industry or this industry,
Mm-hmm.
there's no like manual. Like if you're lucky, you have like somebody who's doing it or in it, and so they can kind of go, you should do this, you should do this, you should do this.
Mm-hmm.
When I jumped in, I didn't like really know anybody who was in the industry, so I was kind of like,
Yeah.
well, I had like one friend. I had one friend, Travis Holyfield, who was like, "Hey, let's table together at a Comic-Con."
Yeah.
And then I was like, "Bet." But I didn't know what that entailed. Like, I didn't know what to bring. He was like, "Just bring this."
Right.
And like, I just watched what he did, and I copied him. And
yeah.
But it's there. You don't have a manual for this. And so I was only doing like 3 or 4 shows a year.
That's a lot for a lot of people that start.
It is,
right?
But like I didn't feel like I was making a dent.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, if I'm gonna have to make a dent, I'm gonna have to use a sledgehammer. I can't keep using like a little hammer.
Right.
And that's what I felt like I was doing. Like I would I would hold on.
Okay. Yo, hello everybody out there in internet land. I see you in the chat. Christopher Williams, yo, what's up, man? It's good to see you. It says here, yo, what up? Are you a part of the first Black Age of comics during the 90s? Yep. Yes, sir. I used to hang out. I think I lurked more than hung out on the Hero Talk boards, and maybe we'll get to it. I started self-publishing in the late 90s, and I guess I was part of that movement. Yo.
Sorry, my son wanted a hug.
Oh man, that's the best.
I had to give it to him.
It's always good for a station break for that. I
just heard crying, and I'm like, oh my God, what is going on? And I go over to him. He's like, I just wanted to give you a hug, and I'm like, come in and give me a hug, man. Like,
isn't it? It's National Sunday.
Yes, it is.
Something like
Shout out to my son.
That's what's up. Oh, while you're away, I was answering some of the comments in the chat here.
Hey, that's why we have them. I appreciate it. I'm sorry, you guys. I know, got to do dad stuff. Got to do dad and husband stuff.
Hey,
but anyway,
it's live, man. You got to do what you gotta do.
But anyway, like I just felt like I had to take a sledgehammer to it.
Yeah.
And so once I did that, then I met guys like you, and I kept seeing you like here and there. And I was like, okay, so this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Because if they're at 3 of the ones that I run into, they're probably doing 15, 20 more. And I was like, okay, like if this is what you want to do, you got to do it. like,
Right.
and I'm following, your gentlemen like you, I see the hustle that you putting in, and I'm seeing it, pay dividends. You out here getting honored at award shows and
Yeah.
whatnot, and
Thank you.
so let's talk about. I'm going to skip your college if
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
okay.
Let's skip that. It's not much to say there, but
That's all right.
yeah.
Let's talk about Leon the Extraordinary.
Okay.
How did you come up with that? Where did that come from? And
Mhm.
when and where did that come up from?
So I invented Leon probably 20 something years ago.
Okay.
And Leon was a kind of uh, un unseen uh, storyline from my self-published work, the Jamar Chronicles. And one of your viewers in the chat asked about the '90s. So I kind of got started in the business in the late '90s. Like in '97, I started making motions into the comic book industry. So I was self-publishing this book called the Jamar Chronicles back then,
Okay.
which is very, I guess, if you think about it now, it's very Rick and Morty. It's about
Okay.
this guy trying to. Somebody was like, "I have that book." That's what's up. Um, Myself, like jumping through dimensions, trying to save the world, and there was like a lot of stuff that I was doing that I was just kind of playing with the art form and just figuring stuff out. And it was so early, there wasn't really much to compare it to, and everybody's had like such a unique voice because there wasn't a lot else. You know what I'm saying? So, in one of the dimensions, he was going to run into this kid who was basically like the Robin of the Batman and Robin team, but Batman went out for Newports and didn't come back, or something like that. So
So
he,
I'm
so
glad you didn't do that.
no, I switched it up. But so he meets this kid who is basically like stuck in the Batcave. He's like, I'm 9 years old. I can't drive a car. You know what I mean? And they kind of go on this adventure, and I really like that concept. So I kind of kept workshopping that over a long period of time. And while I was working on that, I had a file cabinet full of ideas. And I think we're a lot alike. It's like you have stuff, and sometimes it's just shuffling the 3x5 cards of what you're going to pull out
Hmm.
next. So I never really found that space for where Leon could fit into something singular. But that came along later when I think the whole superhero mainstream thing, it kind of really blew up. And I remember my good buddy Anthony Rutgazer, who's a great writer, um, interviewed me, and what was going on in the world was like Kick Ass and Sin City movies and all that kind of stuff. Everything was hyper violent. Right. And I remember he said to me, "Yo, you know what? When Leon comes out, it's going to hit because everybody's going to be so sick of all the violence that this is going to be like a breath of fresh air." And he was really right. It was just a moment where I was just like, you know what? Let's just kind of like hit the reset button and go back to just like the joy of wanting to be young and use your imagination and want to be a good person. So that was kind of like the genesis of where I pushed Leon out into the world. And we self-published. The first Leon book was called Leon Protector of the Playground. It was an early Kickstarter. It was so early, Javon, that we spent half of the campaign trying to tell people what Kickstarter was.
You're like, hey, just give me your money,
Right.
and then maybe.
Yeah. Wait, do you take my money now or later? No, I don't take it. It's if it, we had to do all of that. We kind of blew the whole month trying to explain it. So the book came out a couple of years later, and it people really kind of glommed onto it. And my name had risen a bit since those early years, and some of the lifting wasn't so heavy anymore because I'd been out in the streets, I've been networking, I've been going to all the shows, I shook all the hands, I kissed all the babies. I didn't. It was almost to a point where I didn't feel like I needed to network it anymore. It's just like, here's the thing. You needed something from me. Here it is. And from the strength of that release, It won a couple awards. It won some Glyph awards. It won the Dwayne McDuffie Award for Diversity in 2018, and then I parlayed that into a Scholastic book deal. Oh yeah, look at that. That was for I did the keynote at the Bringo Awards last year, not this year, but the year before that. So that's where the extraordinary comes from. This is the first book in my series at Scholastic Graphix, and I'm so proud, Javon, to be on this label. Like graphics is like the Def Jam of graphic novels. You know, you see Raina Teggelmeyer stuff, Jeff Smith, Bone, Dogman, Dave Pilkey, the Babysitters Club, Amulet is crazy, and to see my guy up there, it kind of gives me goosebumps every time I see that. So you know,
Hey, listen,
I'm in good company.
I'm trying to get that Scholastic money too. I've been over here like workshopping stuff like what can,
Yeah,
what can I do? Like what can I do?
moving to Abacus. Yeah, you know,
Right. Like, what can I do? Let me
yeah, but
I'm gonna have to start showing stuff to my son. Do
yeah.
you like this? Nope. All right, let me trash that.
So yeah, I mean, it's just it's been a really long journey, and it's funny. I just bought this shirt. I don't know if you guys can read it. It's an overnight
Overnight success. I love it. I love it.
and that's just kind of to I think it's a little bit of a goof, but it also reminds me that everything takes time. And sometimes I have to tell people who've just met me because I think people like to. I call it Columbusing. You walk by somebody at a show, and you're like, "Oh, yo, I just found out about you. You must be new." Like, nah, I've been around for 25 something years. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, you're always kind of playing with other people's perceptions of what they think you have or how you got here. So, I like to let them know.
Hey, that's all right. You let them know every
I
now and
let them,
again.
I let them know,
You gotta let them know every now and again. I
hmm
mean, listen, I am truly, truly proud of you.
Oh, thank
I
you, man. I
always love to
appreciate
give
that.
flowers. I got to give you your flowers, man.
Thank you, bro. Thank you, bro. I
Listen, man.
appreciate
You
that.
know, we creators work so hard to find that one thing that can make a name for us,
hmm
and for you to find it,
hmm
and it's it really open up doors for you. I'm happy for you.
Thank you, bro.
I'm you will never find me being jealous of somebody's
hmm
success.
hmm
Now you motivate me because I'll
Sure.
be like, oh, okay, you do a Scholastic. Damn. All right,
hmm
where's my pen? Let me get to
Right.
drawing.
Yeah. Get to work.
Let
That's
me get
right.
to work. Like
Yeah.
that's how I work. Like I'm like, all right, if you
mm,
if you hitting, I gotta find something to hit.
Yeah.
But I'm really happy for you.
Thank you, brother.
I actually saw, for those that don't know, we did Springfield
hmm
together,
hmm
Springfield Comic Con together. So I was actually able to see,
hmm
you making your moves, and I
hmm
saw a little bit at Baltimore. We were a lot farther away
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
each other in
Yeah.
Baltimore.
I
See,
saw you like run back and forth. You're always on the move, bro. I love
well,
it.
so listen, man. One of the things I've had to kind of like, so I do a lot of cons by myself, and I see that you do some yourself too.
hmm
Like there are times where like if there's a dead zone in the show, I will
hmm
walk around real quick and just say
Yeah.
hi to people.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's my thing. Like
Yeah.
if you see me at a con and you see me hustling around, I'm
hmm
usually like going to meet somebody
hmm
who I don't know,
hmm
or you know what I mean. Like I remember once I ran to see Chris Claremont,
hmm
and like to meet him and say hi, because you like you said, it's all about networking. It's all
Yeah.
about who you know,
It really is. Yeah.
and you never know what person that you meet will put you in front of somebody else,
hmm
and and um I don't even remember how we met though.
I
It
think.
wasn't Springfield though.
Are you sure? Because I feel
No, it
like
wasn't
it might have been.
Springfield though. I feel like I met you before Springfield because I knew who you were
Mm-hmm.
before Springfield. Like I'd
hmm
seen Leon the Extraordinary. I just don't
Yeah.
remember where. And I remember we had this conversation in Springfield,
Yeah.
and I just couldn't remember.
It must be one thing right before then, or like it, and maybe in the last year before
It
then.
had to have been in the last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I can't keep track of the shows that I've done.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's
Um,
really a thing, and with my new kind of hat that I wear, being a Scholastic author. I do a lot of events.
hey,
I do school visits. I do conferences. I do library talks. I do keynotes. I do Comic Cons. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of like adding more stuff, and I love it. And I love
That's
meeting people
good.
and talking to people. But it's like the cream rises to the top. You know how we do it.
Hey man, listen, I'm trying. I'm still right. I'm still trying to rise, man. I'm trying to get where y'all at,
I
where they start
appreciate
flying you at, when they fly you out, and they put you up in the hotel. That's where I'm trying to get. All
Yeah,
right,
you're
like
getting
I'm
there.
not
You're
there
getting
yet.
there. You're getting there. It'll come.
I've made it to the level where they give me a table.
Yeah.
Like
Hey.
that's a good level.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, that's a good level.
Yeah. And
But
you're getting there.
it's,
And
it's
I think it's important for us to give back. I really
oh
do.
yeah, absolutely.
Because when it was like 97, 98, there wasn't a lot of folks that looked like us in these spaces. And if I saw anybody, because I tried to connect, like, yo, what's your deal? What are you out here trying to do? Try to support. A lot of that energy was like in the black age of comics that we're talking about in the 90s, and that was kind of like the one of the earlier parts of the internet where people were starting to form message boards and groups and communities. And it's like, yo, we're all trying to do the same thing, go in the same direction. That's networking. I think a lot of people don't
Mhm.
consider their online presence to be networking.
Oh, absolutely.
I think that kind of gets lost sometimes because people kind of get caught up in really, really small things, and I avoid that if I can.
What's up,
Um,
Imani? How you doing, man?
what
Yeah,
up?
well, like what people don't know, like I just friend people on Facebook.
Mhm,
Like
mhm,
I know it sounds weird, but like if you're a creator and you're a friend of my friend, I'll
mhm.
just friend you.
Sure.
Like I'm not gonna bother you about stuff.
Right.
Like I'll friend you up. And
Yeah.
because I'm doing multiple podcasts and stuff, there's an opportunity and I'll post something, to talk about on my page.
Mhm,
9 times out of 10 that person will like say something on my page or come on to the podcast, and then
mhm.
I'll see them at a con,
Yeah.
and now it's like bet like, hey, what's going on.
Mhm.
And it is a big part. I mean, even you know when I really got in the game, which was around 2013, 2014,
Okay.
there still wasn't a ton of like,
Mhm, mhm,
you know
mhm,
us out there.
mhm.
um and that was around the time when Black Panther had just dropped.
Oh, that changed a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
I was lucky enough to be there. Like when I started, my first con was the year that Black Panther dropped, I believe.
Oh,
I want to say, yes, because
yeah.
I to this day I still ain't sold as many as I did as I did that weekend.
Yeah.
It was insane.
What was your first show? Do you remember?
Terrificon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's funny. Somebody asked me about doing cons, and I give them the advice to start small,
Yeah.
but I did not do
No, you did not start
that.
small. No.
I did not do that. I jumped right into the deep end.
Yeah.
Um, but it's funny. I was talking with and I'm name dropping, but whatever.
Hmm.
I was talking with Dennis Cohen about this, and we were talking about how the enthusiasm for Black creators has almost kind of died down a bit. And we were just trying to figure out why, I always wonder if it's like complacency, or like, okay, like, because again, I'm thinking about my first experience as a creator was Terrificon right after Black Panther.
Yeah.
Every Black person that walked by me stopped to at the very least see what I did.
Mhm.
And I wonder now if, because there are more of us, like I was just thinking about Baltimore, and
Mhm.
there was me, yourself,
Mhm.
uh, TJ Sterling, Greg Burnham. Like there are more there's more Black creators in, making books than probably there's ever been. I just wonder if maybe there's almost too many now. And
And
so now you almost have to like stand out from the pack
mm.
of, you know what I mean? Like it's interesting.
You know what I think, and that's an interesting question to turn around in my head. I think the spectacularness of Black Panther and that whole wave was really exciting, and it was thrilling, and it felt new, and it was fresh, and it's like, yo, what's this? Oh, yo, what's that? Oh, yo, what's that? And I think almost maybe to a good direction, maybe it's being normalized. So I think it's not necessarily that it's died down, but maybe it's like the new normal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So people come through and like, oh, what's this? Oh, that's cool. And there's another brother over there, I'll check him out next. Or do you know anybody else? It's not fantastic anymore. And I think that's kind of what we always strive for. You know what I mean? I think, if we're kind of getting hyped off of the off the newness, like the new car smell of it, maybe that's died down, but I don't think it's a bad thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Well, what I do think is it's still kind of bad, at least for me. Like when I the times that I do go to cons
Yeah.
and I'm not tabling, which isn't often,
Mhm.
if I see a Black creator, I'm at least go find out what it's about.
Sure.
But maybe that's the creator in me.
Hmm.
Like, let me go find out let me go meet this person. But
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I always thought that, in my mind, I'm like, I at least want to give me the pitch. If I
Right.
like the pitch, then I'll rock with you. But if
Right.
I don't, then
Right.
But I always thought it was interesting because
Hmm.
it's I think there's so many of us now
Hmm.
making books.
Hmm.
It's a great thing, but
Hmm.
it's almost like, okay, now that before it was like, okay, I was standing out because I was Black. Now it's like, now you got to stand out. Your product has to stand out outside of being Black. It's got to be more than that,
Right. Right.
Um,
Right.
and yours, Leon the Extraordinary, like, you have something that, again, I'm walking around, I don't see anybody else doing
Yeah.
anything like that,
Yeah. Yeah.
something for the kids. Um, a hero, especially a hero that they can easily cosplay.
Hmm.
It's just, yeah, yeah, oh yeah. I trust me, I noticed that. I was like, oh, you can
Hmm.
get that real easy.
Hmm.
But it's something that it's easy to connect to, especially for kids.
Yeah.
So I when I first saw it, I was like, damn, I should have thought of that.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
I was
Hmm.
like, damn, I should have thought of that.
Yeah.
But you had me by a few
a, few,
few
a
years,
couple of years.
couple of years.
But yeah, I think going back to what you were touching on, um, I think that's the normal thing. I think the normalcy is now that there's so many of us out here that it's going to come back around to the quality.
Oh yeah.
The spectacle of seeing a brother in the middle of a room full of comic book people is, I think that's not the draw
Mm-mm.
anymore. It's like, okay, well, we're here now. That door has been kicked open. Now, what do you have?
Yeah.
And if they're not feeling it, then they're not feeling it. And people vote with their wallets. You know what I'm saying?
That is true. And I always see, I see some creators complain
Yeah.
about sales and not selling, and they kind of take it out on the consumer. And my
Right.
mind is like, dog, if your thing's not selling, you think of something else. Um,
Yeah.
like,
Hmm.
a lot of again, it's funny. I had another conversation with was it Larry was it Larry Stroman?
Larry Stroman. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was telling me when we were talking, and he was talking about how, like, when he was coming into the industry, he
Yeah.
had to do, like, basically apprenticeships, and learn about the craft of making books.
Sure.
Um, and I think I think a bit of that is lost with the independent scene.
Hmm.
That a lot of people don't know how to make books, don't know how to pace stories, don't know how to
Hmm.
end a story, begin a story, things like that. And like, there are books
Hmm.
that I've read that I can't make it through. I don't,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I don't name names,
No.
because I support pretty
Hmm.
much across the board,
Hmm.
but I think I would love to see more of our people learn more about the craft
Yeah.
before you get into it, because you might, at least in my opinion, I can't speak for you, but I think for me, feel like if you learn about the craft, then you can rectify that people aren't buying your book. Well, if you learn about this, maybe it's, your art isn't as good as you need it to be, or the concept needs a little bit of work,
Right.
or it doesn't look professional,
Hmm.
and that's big,
I think too what you're talking about is a lot of if I could point a finger at somebody, I think it's the internet. I think the access to so much information has made people, I don't want to say lazy, but they've kind of puffed up everybody's chest because, oh, I went on a couple of YouTube things and I watched Jim Lee draw something, so I'm as thorough
Yeah,
as Jim Lee.
yeah,
That's not necessarily the case. And, we talk about this a lot in my circles about how apprenticeship is dying out because everybody thinks they're an expert. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people didn't clock in their 10,000 hours, bro. They did not.
hey, listen, you talking to a graduate of SCAD, so
You
maybe
know
I'll
what
be
I'm
right as
saying? You
I
know what
done
I'm
did my 10,000 now.
and trying to have just like really healthy conversations with some people, and you can kind of smell it on them already. They're not interested in what the OGs have to say. They don't want your crit. A lot of people who maybe didn't go to art school don't understand the power of a critique. And that's, if I can speak on one really strong point about going to higher education and art school, is to learn how to take criticism. That's like a key number one thing that a
Yeah, oh
lot of
yeah,
people
oh yeah.
just, there's a lot of, yeah, but see what happened, and, oh, don't look at that page, turn to the next one, or my mama, like there's no excuses. There's no crying in baseball. What I'm saying? But, again, I think the internet has kind of made everything so accessible. Everybody thinks that, there may be, um, there might be lying to themselves a little bit, but I think, if with time in the game, hopefully some of those guys will they'll wake up and get to work.
Oh yeah, that thick skin you get in art school is no joke.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
is no joke. I've seen people quit.
mhm,
Be like, this ain't for me.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. It weeds a lot of people out.
oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Um, so let's talk about your experiences in Comic Cons. Like you've done events and multiple shows.
Mm.
Um,
Sorry about the dog.
oh,
This is,
listen,
yeah.
you might hear my wife's dog in a
Uh,
minute, so it's
uh-huh.
all right.
Yeah.
Uh, when you're doing a show, like how do you approach customers? Like,
Hmm.
how do you approach getting new readers in? Are
Hmm.
you a sit back and just let them come? Are you a hey, like I'm a talker? Like how do you roll?
I think that is probably like column two in kind of engaging with people is nobody wants it's like, if you ever walk through like a crowded fair or festival. I was just at this Big E thing, and there are people that I actively was trying to avoid because they're like, yo, 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 over here, yo, come look at me, look at my direction, make eye contact with me. And I don't want anything that you're selling because you're trying too hard. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't allow the I was about to say the client,
Hey, hey, listen,
your cus
sort of.
your customer to just naturally be interested in what you have, and that comes through your display. It comes through your energy. Are you standing? Are you sitting? Are you not even
Hate
at your
that damn
booth?
standing man.
Are you not even there?
Oh yeah,
You know what I'm saying? That's a whole other thing. And all those things add up to, if there's something that they're interested in seeing, you can kind of read it on them. They're like, and maybe that's when I might say like, oh, hey, are you, familiar with this character? Oh no, and I'll tell them a little about it, and then that's kind of it. I've seen some really desperate ploys in my time. This is one of my favorite stories. I'll tell you this real quick. I was at an SPX. This is probably like in '99 or something. And there's always some like, I don't know. It's like desperation sales where a guy's holding a sign that says, "Please buy my comic." Like, bro, what are you doing? I don't want thirsty comics. You know what I mean? Just either sell it or don't sell it. But I don't like pity purchases. So so this woman is walking through the aisles, and there's $1 on the floor of the show. So she looks around like, huh, somebody dropped $1. And she goes to pick it up, and this guy stands up from behind his table with a lasso. He throws a lasso around this woman and tries to reel her in. That was his tactic to get people to come to his table. It didn't end well for him.
I am shocked. I've never heard anything like that.
Yo,
Oh
man,
my
it is
goodness.
crazy out here, yo. I don't do that. I'll just say that.
So
Yeah.
that's crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a talker,
Mhm,
like for those that, heard, have
mhm.
watched the show before, for those that don't know, if you've never
Yeah.
seen me in a con, if you
Mhm.
look at I look for the rubberneckers.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like kind of.
Yeah, like they keep walking, but they're
Yeah.
looking back. Then I'm like, I'll always be like, hey, I don't want you to hurt your neck. Like, you can come on over. I get the laugh. Yeah, I get the laugh, and then okay, tell me about your book, and then I tell them, and then I'll be like, all right, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, all right, so I know you gotta go. This was we definitely got to get you back on soon, because
Yeah, man.
I'm enjoying this
Yeah. Can
conversation.
we do a part two? I would love that.
We could definitely do a part two, man. Let me just look at my schedule,
All right. Yeah.
and
You get you
we
get your people to talk to my people, and we'll figure it out.
my people. All
Yeah.
right, I'm gonna put you over my assistant Javon,
That's
and
right.
Javon will take care of you. All right, I got you. I'll take care of you. But before we go,
Yeah.
let anybody know what you got coming up soon,
Very
just in
cool.
case it might be a while before we get to part two.
Sure. So thanks, man. Thanks so much for chopping it up with me. This has been fantastic. Leon Extraordinary is on sale. This is my favorite part. Wherever books are sold. Don't you love that? So yeah, you can cop it. Walmart, Target,
That's
Costco.
beautiful.
It's all over the place. But don't get too comfortable, because the next book in the series is coming out. It's already on pre-order. It's called
Okay.
Leon Worst Friends Forever is the next title,
Okay.
which will be out in August of 2024. It's
Okay.
already on pre-order, so you can go pick it
All
up.
right.
And
All
then
right.
I will be. I'm all over the place. I might be in your
All right.
town. Check your local listings. But you can always find me online at jamarnicholas.com, right down there. And
Where are you at next?
on Saturday, I'll be in the Chappaqua Book Festival in Chappaqua, New York. That's upstate New York. It's a giant outside book festival. I think there's like hundreds of authors there. I'm really
I
excited.
need to find that. I don't
Yeah.
know. You got to start telling me where you're going to be, so I can put it on my list, man. I
Hey.
told you I'm trying to be out there. So you got to let me
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Are you doing New York Comic Con?
No, I'm going to be in Virginia at the Fall for the Book Festival
Okay.
in Fairfax. I think this next year coming, when I'm starting to do promotion for Worst Friends Forever, I'm going to hit all those shows up. So I'll probably be at New York and San Diego, and all of the majors again. So I'm really looking forward to it. I hope to see you there.
Where I'm gonna be everywhere, man. I'm gonna be around.
Yes.
I'm putting together my schedule now. I'll let you know.
All right. All right.
And
All right.
I'm gonna do the Baltimore again. I'm gonna probably do Terrificon.
Okay.
I'm gonna do Heroes Con.
Hmm.
I'm gonna do as many of them that'll take me.
You got to come.
Definitely.
You got to come to Philly and do Ekbot.
So I was gonna real quick. I was gonna do Ekbach, but it was the same weekend as this other con that gave me a table.
Yeah.
And so, but
Yeah.
it would, and if I were to do it again, I wouldn't have. I would have done Ekbach. But I'm gonna try and do Ekbach next year. I'm gonna do my best to do Ekbach next year. I need to know the date, and hopefully it doesn't coincide with another con, because I did want to do it.
Yeah.
And it honestly, my sister-in-law lives in Philly,
Yeah.
so it ain't no big deal for
Right.
maybe me and the family to just come down, and I do it one day, and then
And then
we break out and go
break
back
out.
home,
Yeah.
or we'll just stay over, whatever. But I'm definitely gonna do it.
That's what's up. Well, hope to see you soon, bro.
Hey, now you're in Philly, so listen, man. I'm doing a Comic-Con next year.
Oh, word! You're doing.
I'm working on doing it. It's gonna be. I'm gonna let you know, but it's definitely gonna be next year. Hopefully in May.
Wow.
So if you
May's kind of tight, bro. But we'll.
I know.
Let me know.
It might not be in May right now. Honestly, I have to talk with the venue and do some other things, but I'll let you know, and it'd be really cool if we can get you up here.
Oh, that sounds really exciting. Yeah, keep me in touch, man. I can't wait to see what you have
All right.
planned.
We'll do. All right, y'all. Listen, JamarNicholas.com. This gentleman has to go to his other podcast, which he didn't invite me to, but we ain't gonna let that.
Yo,
I'm gonna let that one go. You know,
it's just it's being a cup of coffee. Feel free to come along.
Let me know. I'll come right on right now, man. We can keep this going.
All
Just
right.
send me the link, man. Just send me the link.
I will.
But y'all, everybody else, if you're not gonna follow me over to there, I'll see you next week. Thank you for joining the Stoked podcast. Creative talk with creative people.